You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. The aftermath of UMNO's General Assembly, how will it affect the political landscape? And new daily COVID-19 cases fall below 1,000 for the first time this year. That's coming up. Malaysia recorded 941 new COVID-19 cases over the past 24 hours, the first time numbers have hit below 1,000 since the 9th of December. According to Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, each state saw a drop in new cases. Selangor recorded the highest number of cases with 219, followed by Sarawak 192 and Johor 171. New cases in Selangor have been under the 300 mark for 3 days straight. Phase 2 of the National COVID-19 Immunization Program will start on 19 April. Minister in charge of vaccination, Khairi Jamaluddin, said this phase will prioritize vulnerable groups, including those over the age of 60 and those with chronic conditions.
He said the algorithm on My Sejahtera app would be able to detect those under this category. They would then be notified with details 2 weeks prior to their vaccination date.
For instance, if I show up and not registered, I've registered as Warga Mas, then obviously they can be denied the vaccination at the point of vaccination. So my view is that please be honest about this. But they will be telling things that we can turn people away from. If we notice that, for instance, a young person come, tetapi dia punya pendaftaran adalah sebagai warga mas, then obviously. And during the consultation with the doctor, you have to be truthful because this has to do with possible adverse side effects. So if you indeed don't have a chronic illness, then you will be found out when you go to the vaccination.
So far, over 2 million have registered for Phase 2. That is only 22% of the government's target under this phase. As of 28 March, over 7 million or nearly 30% of the population over the age of 18 have registered to be vaccinated. 580,765 have been vaccinated, with 120,110 received both doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Meanwhile, Khairi added that the government would prioritize vaccinating Malaysian Hajj pilgrims if Saudi Arabian government makes it mandatory. He said Lembaga Tabung Haji would submit the list of pilgrims according to the schedule after receiving the official decision from Saudi Arabian government.
Private hospitals will be given permission to negotiate with suppliers to purchase COVID-19 vaccines. However, Coordinating Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said that vaccine delivery to private markets will most likely be made in the third and fourth quarter of this year at the earliest.
He also noted that people who can afford the vaccine shot should not assume that the vaccine could be purchased in the near term, as the entire world is suffering from a lack of vaccine supply. In addition, Khairi, who is also the Science, Technology and Innovation Minister, said the public and private sectors will cooperate for the provision of COVID-19 vaccines to companies in specific industries that are operating in red zones and with more than 5,000 workers. According to him, the cooperation will be announced when they decide the form of cooperation with the industry players.
Malaysia has paid more than 320 million ringgit as compensation to the Singaporean government for the termination of the Kuala Lumpur-Singapore high-speed rail project. The much-anticipated HSR project was called off after both countries failed to reach an agreement. This is after the project's suspension period lapsed on December 31st last year. The two countries reached an amicable agreement on the amount following a verification process by the Malaysian government. A joint statement by Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Sri Mustafa Mohamad, and Singapore's Transport Minister, Ong Ye Kung, today said the payment has been made for costs incurred for the development of the HSR project and in relation to the extension of the suspension of the HSR project. This amount represents a full and final settlement in relation to the termination of the bilateral agreement. UMNO has given its Supreme Council the mandate to withdraw support for the Perikatan National Government at any time it sees fit. This decision was announced during UMNO's annual general meeting, which was held over the weekend. President Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zaid Hamidi reiterated the party's stand not to continue cooperation with Bersatu come the next general election, and that Barisan Nasional will be going solo. How will this announcement impact the current PN government? We speak to political analyst Dr. Mazlan Ali.
Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin would be a bit shaken, but he has a few other options, and I think he may get the support of other MPs from the different parties, maybe from Sabah and Sarawak, as well as some MPs from opposition members in Peninsular Malaysia. Maybe Tan Sri can get support from PKR or Amanah. I think although governments may be unstable, but with this option, he can survive, and the governments will continue.
Meanwhile, with the decision made to head into the general elections without Bersatu, how would BN led by UMNO fare in the next general elections?
UMNO is still a strong party with grassroots and large membership. So I think UMNO's chances in the next general election would be quite good. And with the support from MCA and MIC, BN may have a great, may have a good showing, but this will not be enough to form a government unless BN is willing to work with other parties, including Pakatan Harapan or Warisan Sabah, or maybe UMNO can do cooperation with parties from Sabah and Sarawak.
What does the recently concluded UMNO General Assembly tell us about its relationship with Bersatu and PAS going into GE15? Tonight on Consider This, we speak to political analysts whether tough rhetoric will turn into conclusive action. Police called 11 individuals for questioning today over the Undi 18 demonstration outside Parliament on Saturday. Malaysian United Democratic Alliance Muda's Amir Abdul Hadi, alongside members of DAP, Amanah and Parti Socialist Malaysia, were among those called to give their statements.
On Saturday, a group of youths gathered peacefully in front of the Parliament building to urge the implementation of Undi 18. Dubbed Himpunan Tuntut Undi 18, about 100 demonstrators dressed in black and white marched towards Parliament and held a silent vigil for 18 minutes before dispersing after an hour. Authorities were heavily armed while roads were barricaded to monitor the situation. On March 25th, the Election Commission announced that the bill passed by majority in Parliament in 2018 to lower the minimum voting age to 18, and automatic voter registration would only be implemented after September 1st, 2022 due to movement control order last year.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Kini berwajah baru.
Ini pula susulan khas pesawat Back Air di Kazakhstan. Pesawat berkenaan dilaporkan tergelincir 2 kali.
Notifikasi berita terkini dan navigasi mudah. Podcast dikemas kini dengan berita dan program
Rebirth, Reformasi, Resistance and Hope.
Serta video tanpa had dengan scroll tanpa henti. Buat turun aplikasi baru Astro AWANI sekarang.
Semua yang terjadi adalah berita, tetapi tiada siapa yang boleh bawakan yang terkini dan tergempar seperti kami.
Dilihat hanya memberi wang tanpa matlamat yang tepat. dia tidak melakukan apa-apa kesalahan.
Untuk mendapatkan jawapan yang bermakna, kita perlu soalan yang tepat.
Amat sedih dengan apa yang berlaku ke atas.
Tiada ruang untuk berita palsu.
Negara kita telah merekodkan kes harian baru sebanyak
hanya fakta yang diberikan.
Amat penting untuk meneruskan perjuangan negara melawan pandemik ini.
Sentiasa memastikan suara anda, suara rakyat didengari.
Kenapa?
Membawakan apa yang penting di mana sahaja anda berada.
Kerana kita hendak putuskan.
Welcome back. Myanmar's military is facing growing international pressure after more than 100 people were killed over the weekend, including several children. US President Joe Biden has joined other world leaders in condemning the bloodshed in Myanmar, calling the crackdown on pro-democracy protesters outrageous. At least 141 people were shot dead by the military on Saturday, the bloodiest day since protests against the coup began in February. The bloodshed came on Armed Forces Day, where the military regime was seen as showcasing its strength. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said the junta's celebration of its armed forces had been blighted by a day of horror and of shame. The latest chorus of international condemnation came after the defense chiefs of the United States, Britain, Japan, and 9 other countries denounced the Myanmar military. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced a major cabinet reshuffle today. He said his new cabinet and ministry will have the strongest female representation the country has ever had.
The decision came after he faced intense pressure to respond to allegations of sexual misconduct and harassment against women in Parliament. Senator Michaela Cash was appointed Australia's new Attorney General, replacing Christian Porter. She will also hold the post as Minister for Industrial Relations. Foreign Minister Marise Payne will lead the task force of new ministerial roles, including women's safety and women's economic security, while Anne Ruston will take on the new portfolio of Minister for Women's Safety. Meanwhile, Lyndall Reynolds was demoted as Minister for Defence, with Peter Dutton to take on the role. Morrison reshuffled cabinet twice in 3 months as he continues to battle scandals revolving members of his political party.
Indonesia's state oil company Pertamina said it hopes to restore operations at its Balongan oil refinery in 4 to 5 days after a massive fire broke out overnight. 5 people were injured in the fire, while over 950 residents were evacuated. Videos shared on social media showed huge flames engulfing the facility, which produces 125,000 barrels of oil per day. The cause of the fire is yet to be known, but Pertamina in a statement said there was heavy rain and lightning when the fire started. The blaze was concentrated in the refinery's storage units, and there had been no impact on the processing plant. A huge container ship that has been stuck across the Suez Canal for almost a week has been freed from the shoreline. Authorities said as of this evening, the course of the 400-meter-long ship has been corrected by 80%.
The ship has been blocking one of the world's busiest trade routes. Reports that the ship had been freed raised hopes that traffic along the canal could resume within hours, clearing the way for an estimated $9.6 billion worth of goods that is held up each day. The 200,000-ton ship ran aground on Tuesday morning amid high winds and a sandstorm that affected visibility.
2 suicide bombers who blew themselves up at a church in Indonesia on Sunday were newlyweds who belonged to a pro-Islamic State extremist group. Police said the pair had been married for about 6 months and that the man was in his mid-20s.
About 20 people were wounded in the powerful explosion outside the church in Makassar City on Sulawesi Island while worshippers celebrated Palm Sunday. Police said the couple were part of local terrorist outfit Jama'ah Ansharut Daulah, which is loyal to the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, blamed for a series of attacks, including 2018 suicide bombings in Surabaya.
In the Philippines, more than 24 million people in the country's economic hub entered a lockdown today as officials warned the week-long restrictions could be extended if COVID-19 infections do not fall. People have been ordered to stay home unless they are essential workers as Metro Manila and 4 neighboring provinces struggle to curb a surge that has strained hospitals. More contagious variants of the virus have been blamed for the spike in cases. On Monday, Philippines recorded over 10,000 new COVID-19 infections, the country's 3rd record daily spike in cases over the past 5 days. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Cynthia Ng. We'll see you tomorrow.